This is my immediate out of the home theater reaction for Tron ARES. But before we get into this reaction, let me tell you about the gear I'm using. For this review, my setup includes 11 Arendal speakers in a 7.3.6 configuration, 5 1723S monitors for the front stage and rear surrounds, 2 1961 monitors for side surrounds, 2 1961 bookshelf, and 4 1961 height speakers for a total of 6 height speakers. For the low end, I've got dual 18-inch JTR RS1s and a 21-inch MagTheatron subwoofer for maximum impact. Processing the audio is a Trinnov Altitude 16 with an Amplitude 16 processor. On the visual side, I've got a madVR NV core processing an EPSON QB1000 4K projector, made it to a 110-inch acoustically transparent Seymour screen with the center channel behind the screen. Okay, the first thing that I'm going to say is that this movie is awesome. Now, I'm not talking about the movie itself, but as far as audio and video, this is cream of the crop for 2025. I am so surprised by this movie. It's what I was hoping for, but you know, since it's a Disney release, I was like, man, I don't know. So I saw this movie in the theater twice. I saw it in IMAX 3D first, which was amazing. The 3D on this is some of the best that I've ever seen. And then I saw it a couple days later in just regular IMAX, and both versions were incredible. I'd have to say that IMAX 3D was the best just because it combines the best of both worlds. So you have, you know, those big grand IMAX scenes, and then you have really, really good 3D. There was no ghosting, you know, there was no, I don't even know how to, it was perfect. It's the best 3D I've seen probably since Avatar. Avatar usually has the best 3D, but this is right on par with that. So hopefully when the Blu-ray comes out, 4K Blu-ray, we will get a 3D release. But man, Disney has knocked it out of the park. So I'm going to compare this a little bit to the Fantastic Four First Steps movie, because when I did that review, I said that that was the best superhero movie of 2025 for me. Best audio. Video was really good too, but I was very surprised by Fantastic Four because we know how Disney releases always sound. They suck. They nuke the bass, the audio levels are usually really low, and there's just no dynamic range. This movie is not that. It exceeds Fantastic Four. So we're going to get into the audio and video. We're going to talk about the bass. We're going to talk about the vocals because this thing's a standout. So first, let me tell you a little bit what I thought about the movie. I don't think this movie is as bad as everybody made it out to be. It absolutely tanked at the theater. I mean, just so bad that Disney said that we're done making Tron movies. That's it. Finished. Which is sad because if you've seen the movie, you know that there's a really big teaser at the end. And I haven't seen the original. I tried years ago to try to watch the original, and I got like 5 or 10 minutes into it, and I was like, I can't do this. So now I want to go back and watch that. I'll have to sit through it, but I thought the movie was pretty decent. I saw it with my brother, and we were like, yeah, it's not the best. There's, you know, it's kind of corny at times, a little bit cheesy, but it's not a bad movie. And I actually thought Jared Leto did pretty good. You know, he's not great in the role, but he's not bad either. And yeah, the movie as a whole was pretty decent. I don't know why it failed so bad. I'd have to say that Tron Legacy is much better. The story is much better. You know, the pacing is better. So yeah, I thought this movie was a good watch. Again, it's not great, but it's definitely not as bad as everybody set it out to be, at least to me. But let's get into the video. So the video on this is pristine, absolutely pristine. Unfortunately, there are no IMAX scenes on this. I don't know what the deal is with these digital releases not giving us IMAX. I'm sure probably at some point they'll probably, you know, in 3 or 4 years maybe, or maybe when the 4K Blu-ray comes out, I don't know. But I'm sure at some point they're going to come out with the IMAX release to get everybody to double dip again, and then, you know, Disney can kind of make a little bit of money back. I don't think they're ever going to make their money back on this movie. But it's odd because this movie, it really needs to be seen in IMAX or IMAX 3D. I'd say watch it in IMAX 3D, but no IMAX scenes. So, you know, you're going to have your black bars. I have masking panels, so it's not an issue for me. But the video on this is just absolutely crystal clear, pristine. I mean, it makes my QB1000 look almost like it's a TV, almost. I mean, it looks that good. Now, one thing I will say, this movie has tons and tons of color, you know, primarily red and white, because you've got, you know, the different characters when they're in the grid and when they're outside of the grid. You've got cars, you've got recognizers, you've got drones. Everything is very vibrant. However, most of the movie is actually pretty dark, which is a little bit interesting. Now, I'm not saying that, you know, there's something wrong with the movie. I don't think there's anything wrong with the movie, but I guess the movie has a little bit more of a darker tone. So even though there's like really bright colors, that bright red and those whites, when they're in the grid, it's actually kind of dim. But again, I'm not saying that was a downgrade from what I saw in the theater. This looks absolutely excellent. Colors are vibrant. I mean, the picture is just so clean. There is zero grain in this movie. Maybe a little bit of when ARES goes back to the grid, like from the 80s, 70s or 80s, 70s, I think. Yeah, 70s. But that's like intentional, and I see why they did that. It was a little jarring at first when I saw it in the theater, because I was like, what is this? And I'm like, oh, I haven't watched the original. So they tried to make it like it was from the 70s, which actually makes sense according to the plot. But this movie is one of the cleanest looking movies that I've seen in a long time. It's perfect. So Disney knocked it out of the park with the video. The HDR is beautiful. Again, it's not like overly bright. This isn't going to stress test your system. It does get bright and it does look good. But if you've seen the movie on digital or on Kaleidescape, it is a little bit dimmer as far as even when there's bright stuff on the screen. You have to watch it to appreciate it. But I think that's intentional. But yeah, the video, top notch, man. I think this is the cleanest looking, sharpest looking, digital looking video that I've seen for 2025. I don't see anything beating it. Maybe Avatar, but I don't know that Avatar usually looks like that good as far as just crispiness. So I'd have to give the video a 10 out of 10. I would have liked it to be just a little bit brighter, but again, I think that was probably director's intent according to the plot and stuff like that. But video is absolutely pristine. I can't give it enough praises. Just amazing. They knocked it out of the park. Audio. Audio is where this movie stands out. I have so much to say about the audio on this. One, it's a Disney mix. So when I saw this in the theater, I was like, man, I always get my hopes up because I'm like, this is going to sound, hopefully it sounds amazing, because it sounded incredible in the theater. There was tons of bass. You know, I watched it in IMAX, so it wasn't Dolby Atmos, but it still sounded good. There was really good separation. Atmospherics were really good, very dynamic, and just incredible sounding. So I was like, man, this possibly could be very good, but it's Disney, so I don't know. Man, I don't know if the people at Disney are listening to content creators or reading articles about how much their audio just sucks, but somebody's paying attention, because Fantastic Four First Steps sounded awesome. This movie kicks it up another notch. So I was watching this at -10. Now, typically I will go up to like, I've been going up to -8. I was actually afraid to do that because I know I pissed my neighbors off. I'm sure of it. I watched it last night, and then I watched clips of it again so that I could record the audio for this video. And I know I pissed them off. The bass in this is just so intense. Super palpable, very guttural, like slams it, you feel it in your chest, and this is going to pressurize your room. So I've got 5 subs, 2 18s in the front, 2 15s in the back stacked, and a 21-inch. And my room was slamming. I was actually afraid that my neighbor was going to come knock on my door again. And I was watching it pretty late. I probably started it at about 6:30 or 7. So I ended it pretty early, but I'm like, man, I know they felt that. I know they were pissed off. Bass is absolutely incredible. So first, let me get into the audio of or at least the vocals. So vocals are crystal clear, but one thing that really stood out to me that I was looking for, you know, when I saw this in the theater to see if it was going to translate to the digital release was primarily the user. So Dillinger, I forget his first name, but you know, one of the main characters of the movie, whenever he is talking to ARES inside of the grid, there's this face that kind of protrudes out, and it has this really like deep robotic but also humanized voice.
No trace of her existence on the grid?
None, sir.
Extract the code and delete the carrier.
Good, sir. Extracting the permanence code would delete the carrier from the grid and from your world.
Once upon a time, there was a weapon, and its name was ARES. And ARES obeyed every command of Julian Dillinger, and Julian Dillinger made $1 trillion
and wrote his name on the face of time in blood. Now, whatever pepcac error is behind these feelings,
I'm going to find it and rip it out of you. Do I make myself clear?
Perfectly.
Program dismissed.
When I saw it in IMAX, I was like, whoa, this is really, really deep. I really liked how they did that. And it translated absolutely just like I remembered it in the theater. You can feel the bass. I won't say it doesn't pressurize your room, but it's very guttural what they did with that voice. It's a blend of like electronic, human, digital, but it obviously it fits for the movie. But yeah, I was looking at my drivers, you know, on the JTRs, the RS1s, and you know, they're not going crazy because the voice doesn't go that deep, but you can actually see the driver moving when Dillinger is talking to ARES inside of the grid. So that was pretty cool. That was awesome. And even the characters, ARES and some of the other characters, when they're either in the grid or in the real world, they also have this kind of like a mix between a mechanized and human voice that it doesn't get too deep, but the deepest parts of the voice is going to be when Dillinger is talking to ARES or anybody inside the grid, and you know, his face, that to show that face and it protrudes. So that was pretty cool. Another scene that I thought was actually the most standout scene in this movie, and there's many of them, is when Eve first gets transported into the grid, and when ARES has a standoff with the other programs, man, the Trinnov, first of all, the audio sounds incredible, super atmospheric. All of your speakers are going to come alive. It is going to go absolutely nuts in your theater, depending on how you have. So I have 6 height speakers, and it uses every single speaker. And when I was looking at the Atmos viewer, I was shocked because I have never seen, since I've had the Trinnov, I've never seen the Atmos viewer go absolutely nuts like it does during this scene. I mean, it is absolutely utter chaos. This is a completely dynamic mix. As bad as the movie did, I'm really glad that Disney did this audio transfer right. That worried me because I was like, oh man, this movie just bombed. They're probably not even gonna put in any effort into the audio. Somebody paid a lot of attention, and somebody needs to get a raise for this, because this is Fantastic Four First Steps is the best superhero movie that I've heard this year. This is the best audio for any movie that I've seen this year on digital. Now, there's still a couple other movies. I think Predator Badlands, I doubt that that's going to come out in December. It's probably going to come out in January or February. That one sounded really good. I don't know if it's going to beat this, though. I mean, the audio on this, especially during the scene, just, it absolutely matches what I heard versus what I was looking at on the atmosphere. I mean, it's crazy, absolutely insane. The chaos. I mean, you can hear it. You know, sometimes on some of these movies when I review them, I'm looking at the atmosphere and I'm like, I see some dynamic movement, but I'm not really hearing that translate into the speakers. This translates 1-to-1. Absolutely incredible. So if you watch this movie, this is going to be a demo-worthy scene. If you've seen it, or if you're planning on buying it later when it comes out in 4K, you're going to really enjoy this scene. Now let's talk about the bass. The bass in this it's vicious, and it digs deep. Like I said, this is going to pressurize your room. It was pressurizing my room, probably pressurizing my neighbor's, room. But one of the standout scenes, and the bass is pretty consistent. In the very beginning of the movie, it's still present, but it's a little bit tame. And then when the 9 Inch Nails track comes on, which I'm going to talk about here in a little bit too, the bass just goes hard and it gets deep. But one of the scenes I wanted to highlight was when the Recognizer first enters the real world. The bass is just absolutely vicious, guttural. Like you feel it slamming in your chest, because it makes like this really quick clicking sound when it's moving, but it's super, super deep. And then when it stops, like there's a scene where the Recognizer is going through the city and it kind of slows down and it stops, and you hear like this clicking sound. It's like boop, 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 boop. super, super deep. Like I said, I know my neighbors felt that, and I'm sure they were pissed off. Next time I see my neighbor, I might get like some pretty dirty looks. But yeah, anytime the recognizer is on screen, and the recognizer isn't in the movie a whole lot. It really only comes out at the very end, and it's not even around for that long because it gets destroyed. But when it's there, it's gonna pressurize your room. It slams, man. It's vicious. So another thing, the Nine Inch Nails soundtrack. So I'm not gonna sit here and say that I'm a Nine Inch Nails fan. I'm absolutely not. Never been a Nine Inch Nails fan. There's a few songs, maybe like 2, that I can tolerate. Nine Inch Nails has never really been my thing. So when they announced Nine Inch Nails, at first I was like, man, that's really weird. But then I started thinking about the type of movie that this was. Very futuristic, very technological and advanced. And knowing how Tron Legacy was, I went, you know what? I think this is actually a perfect fit. Even though I'm not a big Nine Inch Nails fan, I see why they did that. I would have been very happy with the previous composers. And that's one thing that I think was kind of weird, is that, and I mean, there's movies that have used musicians, but typically movies have like a composer, like Hans Zimmer or something like that. But when they announced Nine Inch Nails, I went, you know what? I think this might be perfect. And then they released that first song. I forget what it's called. And I was like, oh yeah, this is going to sound good. Nine Inch Nails knocked it out of the park. Every song, every track. Just perfect alignment on what's happening on screen, the tempo, the pace, and obviously, you know, the soundtrack. The bass just absolutely slams anytime that they're playing. So Nine Inch Nails, perfect. Whoever made that decision, give them a raise, because it was great. So Nine Inch Nails soundtrack through and through is awesome. Bass is incredible. And then even at the very end, like literally at the very end of the movie, there's kind of like an end mid-credit scenes. Like the credit starts and there's a scene very quickly, and Dillinger transports himself to the grid. And even that scene is pretty chaotic. And actually, at the very end of that scene, there's a bass drop, and I think that's the deepest bass that I heard in this movie. Like it got super, super low. So I'm going to give the audio on this a 10. I wish I could give it more, 10 out of 10, but I wish I could give it more just because of how bad Disney mixes have been in the past. I hope that this is the way of the future for Disney mixes and Marvel, because I think this is going to be the best audio track this year. I may do like best of 2025, maybe in January or something, but I think this is going to be the last big release that we get for this year, and this is the best that I've heard. Don't come at me in the comments. For those of you, you guys, well, what about this movie? I don't watch every single movie that comes out. So if you get mad because I say that this movie sounds the best out of all the audio, how do you even know that I watched a movie that you're comparing it to? So don't come at me in the comments saying, well, what about this movie? This is all based off of all the movies that I've seen this year that I've purchased for digital. So, man, 10 out of 10 for video, 10 out of 10 for audio for Tron. ARES just knocked it out of the park. Completely just took me by surprise. Again, I was hoping for something good, but I was like, it's probably not going to be that good, especially how bad the movie did. Man, this saving grace. Talk about saving grace. This movie is incredible. No matter what you feel about the movie, whether you hated the movie or you enjoyed it, when you get this and you watch it, I can guarantee you it's going to look great and it's going to sound amazing. So that's my immediate out of the home theater reaction for Tron ARES. I want to know what you guys think in the comments. Did you see it in the theater? Did you see it in IMAX 3D? Did you see it at Adobe Theater? What were your thoughts on the theater experience versus your home theater experience? Because I think that this is the closest one-to-one transfer that I've heard in a while, and the fact that it's a Disney release, just I'm blown away. So let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.